Good evening, everybody who is joining us from wherever you're joining us from. Don't forget to mention it in the comments down below and let us know where you're joining us from. You know which day it is. It's Saturday, and today we are talking about family matters. And by the way, we don't joke. We are talking about co-parenting with a toxic partner. What happens if your partner is crazy? Like literally, you just can't get into a conversation with them. You can't agree on anything. You can't work things out. There are those people who you just can't voice anything. What do you do with that kind of a partner? So I want to invite you to this special edition, and I want to welcome you and each and every person, and I want to encourage you to share this link on your Facebook profiles and let everybody know Likuyani and Nyokabi are here to help you. And guess what? Today we have a special guest to take this thing to another level. So it's going to be a crazy show, none like other before. And before we continue, without a further ado, I think Eli has found his jacket finally and his microphone, and he's now ready to join us in the show. Eli, my brother, how you doing, man? Wacha kujificha baba, tokelezea watu waone umevaa koti ni nini. A minute, Eli, your mic is muted.
Do you have an idea how much of an intro I had made? Good evening, Nyokabi. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, my brother. How are you? You're looking fantastic, man. You look edible. Kitu inaweza kuliwa
I
bwana.
tell you, that's
Hey,
hii ni chakula hii. Chakula ya I'm snackish.
You know, you look edible. It's good to see you, man. How have you been?
I'm great, and it's always an awesome experience to have you on board. And this is the family edition every single Saturday from 9:30 p.m. East African time. Guess what, Nyokabi? Before we get everything rolled out, let's just take a look on how things went last week on the family edition.
All right. And there are different types of abuses. There's the physical abuse, which we are all conversant with. The physical abuse is where somebody is using things to hit you and to beat you and to cause you injury, physical harm that you can see with your eyes like this. That is physical abuse. If you're in a relationship and somebody just hits you, punches you and slaps you and break your bones and wounds you in very serious places, this is a person who can easily kill you. Seek help. Go to people who you can trust. Don't go to family, don't go to relatives, don't go to aunties, don't go to uncles. Seek help from professionals who understand the dynamics of the situations that you're in. Please speak to a professional about your situation. Family is not built, is not customed, is not aware of how they're supposed to handle that situation. Please speak to professionals who can be able to pull you out of that situation. And please, if you do anything, seek help.
My name is Likuyani Eli, and we are ready for the show. Once again, Nyokabi GK Kamau on the other end of the screen. She's ready to bring us the topic. But before we do that, Nyokabi, why don't we give you the honors of inviting our guest of the night?
I'm humbled and privileged. Okay, today I don't know what's happening with our mics today, Eli. We are behaving like amateurs, and we've been doing this thing for a while, Buana. We have a reputation to keep.
It's because you are eating something out of the snack.
So allow me to welcome our guest today. We are so excited. We have a guest who is amazing, is an advocate who understands the law, who is eloquent and is able to explain to us what does it mean when it comes to co-parenting from a legal point of view. Isn't it amazing to have somebody who understands these things? If we are talking about medical things, we call doctors. We are talking matters law, kupeleka huyu mtu kwa serikali ya support watoto, how do you go about it? How do you support it? And without a further ado, Ellie, allow me to welcome our friend, Mr. Ken. Karibu sana, welcome. Welcome kabisa. How are you, Ken?
Fine, thank you. Thank you, Kabi, Ellie,
Aki,
for the. Can you see me?
Aki,
I'm not sure if you can be seen.
we can see you. The problem that I'm having, Ken, is you're so calm, so collected. Unanifanya nikae panyanya. You're making me look like I have a lot of emotion.
No,
You try and
that is
try.
the demeanor of advocates. So you just have to keep calm because you're in control of the situation at all times. So that is how we are. But it's a
I
pleasure
have
to be
seen.
here again. Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful edition of this show. I'm looking forward for a very exciting engagement.
We are looking forward to having you on board and to hear your perspective on matters legal. So, if you can see Mr. Ken Ellie, before we continue, before I invite you back, allow me to greet mashabiki hapa ndani. Sijui kama utaweza kuingia hapo kwa screen ndio nikuone, na mimi nitaanzia huku juu. Unlike you, wacha nisalimie Nora Ambata. And in fact, girl, you had sent me a message and told me you're looking forward to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Salma, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Furaha, karibu sana, tunaku-appreciate. Sarah, we see you over there. Karibu sana. Thank you all. They are saying my hair is fantastic. Effortless. I woke up like this. There's Classic, karibu sana. Kuna Reman, karibu sana. Who else is here? Peter, welcome. Acheng, karibu sana. Kuna Zuena. Leo umekeep time bana. Hujambo mama, karibu sana. Kujaribu nayo. Douglas Kiplangat, karibu sana. Welcome to each and every one of you. Share these things on your pages so that we can be able to invite as many people who we can be able to reach. Karibuni sana. Now, Ellie,
Yes. So
because
Nyokabi,
you're my landed brother. Najua leo mpaka tumebadilisha kizungu. Today we are speaking like landed people. We have an advocate in the panel. What is
yes.
the definition of co-parenting in a simple language? What is co-parenting? Mpaka
Well,
umechange. Ona.
Nyokabi, I will be
Yes.
the worst of individuals tonight to present that case before this honorable audience. So allow me to pass to my learned friend, rather our learned friend, because I am not learned in any way, to actually bring it into perspective in the law description of co-parenting as per the book. Ken Ashimosi.
All right. Co-parenting is basically an agreement between two parents for purposes of raising their children or their child, for that matter. So it's just raising children or a child by the two parents. And when you say co-parenting, basically what comes to mind is there's a likelihood that these people are not staying together. So that is where co-parenting comes up. So co-parenting is where two parents get into an agreement on how to raise their child or children.
Is this agreement legal or is it casual? Do you need an advocate? Do you need an arbitrator? What kind of an agreement are we looking at that we can be able to do co-parenting?
Okay, now
Ken.
yes. So the
Yes.
agreement, basically, it can be mutual, but also it depends on the background of the relationship between the two parents. Is it, are you co-parenting because you're divorced, or are you co-parenting because you just, you are together, you're in a relationship and a child was a product of the relationship? So it depends. So sometimes it's mutual, sometimes it's compelled by court, and sometimes it's just you get yourself into such an arrangement even without agreeing, having a formal agreement. So you just get yourself in there. Yeah. So it depends on the situation.
Oh, I'm curious to find out. I'm curious to find out what situations would require or would lead to a legal kind of an arrangement. What kind of a situation do you need to be in as a couple that you need to require a legal kind of arrangement?
Most of the time, it's when there's a strained relationship between the father and the mother. So you will find the two parents either through other intermediaries, they agree on how to raise the child. But in most circumstances, it's always it comes up when there are issues. If we were married and we got divorced, and now we're forced to live our separate lives, but we had children, so the court, we either through court or through ourselves, we agree on how to raise these children, and so the issue of co-parenting arises. The other
Are there any?
issue of
Yes,
the other
continue. Sorry.
thing that the other scenario that could lead to co-parenting is where maybe I am married. I had a relationship with person X, and we got a child out of that relationship. So we are forced to co-parent because I am in a different relationship. I'm married, and I cannot marry you, but you have my child. So we end up co-parenting. So those are the two examples that come to mind, and either way, we can agree, or either way we can be compelled by court to do so, to co-parent.
I'm I'm particularly very curious about this statement you keep making that you can be what is the word kizungu
Compelled.
aki learned. Today I had planned to be learned. You can be compelled by the court to co-parent with a particular person. So I'm curious what kind of a situation leads to the court coming in and compelling the two of you. Do you as a couple go and approach the court? Are you reported by relatives and family members? What kind of a situation leads? Is there abuse? What leads the court to actually compel two couples to cooperate? Does one party have to actually have reported and requested the assistance of the court, or what happens? What happens in that scenario?
Yes, 90% of the cases, one parent has reported the matter to court or has presented their case to court. And in this case is the children court, because in the Kenyan justice system, we have courts specifically designated for children matters. So you'll find one parent approaching that court, and they will ask the court for the other parent to provide or to contribute towards the child's welfare. However, the most important thing to note in this conversation or in this discussion is issues of parental responsibility. Parental responsibility arises from the Constitution. So, and the Constitution is very clear that both parents have parental responsibility. So if you abdicate your responsibility, then either party, or either if it's your girlfriend, your wife, or your husband feels that you're not taking up your responsibility as provided by the law, then they approach court and say, hey, the father to this child has neglected them, and this is irresponsible of them. This is against the Constitution, and so on and so forth. So that is ideally what happens.
Oh, thank you so much, Ken. There's a comment here that has really blessed me, and I think Ellie, you're going to help me. Atinyokabi, what's wrong with you today? Your lungus always flows. Nikukaa with intellects. When you sit with learned people, everything you thought you know. Bob Ellie, can you help me, my brother? Aki, niokoe.
Part of the discussion. we want to dive deeper into this. And if you're there and you're watching us, let us know your situation. Are you a parent that is co-parenting? What has been your experience? And if any, what would be your questions to the panel tonight? Remember, you can send these questions in so that our advocate that is here tonight can be able to respond to them. And the hashtag stays and remains Art in Heart and Responding to Life. So, Ken, very important part you've talked about compelling until this word started choking Nyokabi. Over the last 24 hours or so, there has been a very heated discussion online about particular media personalities. And before we have those discussions running here, let's just listen in a little bit and then we can pick the discussion from that. Okay? Allow me.
Can you believe hii nyumba yetu hata watoto wangu hawana TV, television set because their dad hakubuy. Na mimi pesa nilikuwa napata, I buy food, I pay house help. The whole of last time Jeremy hakuenda shule because I didn't have the school fees. So alikuwa anakaa tu around. Watu wakiniuliza, "Eh, mtoto aendi shule?" Naambia nataka kumbadilishia shule. But sikuwa na fee. My son was not feeling well, the first baby. Nikamcall. Man, shock on me, nilipata nimeblokiwa. Nimekula block. Imagine. So kitu najua tu, he doesn't want anything to do with his kids, with us, and I'm so okay with that. Kama inampea peace ni sawa, but shida ni asikuje baadaye kucorrupt watoto akili. It won't be fair. It won't be fair kabisa.
My good friend will remind me, these are just but allegations. So I will say alleged clip, alleged voice, and alleged context. Ken, what do you make of that scenario? Okay, we just lost Ken, I think. Is he back?
He's back. I can see him.
Okay, I think he's struggling with his device by chance. Okay, if you were listening into that discussion, what do you make of it? And as parents, yeah, unasemaje kuhusu hii maneno?
Unfortunately, I didn't hear anything that you played. Unfortunately, my internet dropped. Unfortunately.
na tumerusha mawe polisi na hujasikia. Our advocate.
You need to defend us, right? Tumerusha mawe polisi.
Do you mind replaying the clip if you don't mind? Or
okay, our dear viewers, with a lot of respect to our learned guider tonight, let's allow this clip to replay. Kindly allow us.
Can you believe hii nyumba yetu hata watoto wangu hawana TV, television set because their dad hakubuy. Na mimi pesa nilikuwa napata, I buy food, I pay house help. The whole of last time Jeremy hakuenda shule because I didn't have the school fees. So alikuwa anakaa tu around. Watu wakiniuliza, "Eh, mtoto aendi shule?" Naambia nataka kumbadilishia shule. But sikuwa na fee. My son was not feeling well, the first baby. Nikamcall. Man, shock on me, nilipata nimeblokiwa. Nimekula block. Imagine. So kitu najua tu, he doesn't want anything to do with his kids, with us, and I'm so okay with that. Kama inampea peace ni sawa, but shida ni asikuje baadaye kucorrupt watoto akili. It won't be fair. It won't be fair kabisa.
Okay. Are you now well prepped to respond to some of the issues that are being raised here? Remembering the word alleged.
Yeah.
Amekula block.
Okay. I've heard part of the clip. I think the sound was kind of breaking. But what I'm getting from it is one has, I think it's the father that has taken off.
The father has disappeared according to those allegations.
Yes.
Na amekulisha msupa block.
And they're supposed to be co-parenting.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, like I've mentioned before, parental responsibility is equal, right? And the law provides or obligates both parents to provide for their child or children equally. So that good lady, instead of ranting on social media, what she could do is approach court, make an application before court, and the allegation that she's raising, she can present them to court. And the court will hear her, and the court can direct that the father demonstrate to court why one or two things cannot be done against him, because you have a responsibility as a father to your child. You have a responsibility to your children as a mother, and the law is very clear. And one thing I can assure you, children matters and children courts are very stringent when it comes to such matters. So parental responsibility is equal. And from my understanding, after listening to that clip, I could easily tell that they are in a strained relationship. So the court in such a scenario will compel the father to, to take up some duties and roles. They can compel the father to provide, to pay school fees, to pay housing, to pay for the house help, depending on the financial capability of the father. But the court in such cases, then the court will compel the father to provide. Now, one thing I really need to highlight is the court cannot force you to co-parent, right? The court cannot force you to co-parent, but the court will compel you to provide or to maintain your child. So that's when you hear issues of child maintenance. So the court will compel you to maintain your child because you have an equal responsibility to provide for your child. However, when it comes to co-parenting, it's a choice. You cannot force me to co-parent, right? If for whatever reason I don't want to see my child, or if it's for whatever reason I don't want to take part in the upbringing of the child, all I will do is write it a check end of the month. I give it to you, and as a mother, you take care of the child. So the court cannot force one to co-parent. It is a mutual agreement, and when the parents agree to joint to co-parenting, then they enter into an agreement and say, okay, you'll be picking up the child on Friday, or during vacation, the child will come to your house, stay with them over the holiday, or we'll be meeting in the park. You hang out with the child in the evening, I go back with the child. So that is the co-parenting that we're talking about. But the court cannot compel you to be available for your child, right?
Okay.
I think
let me allow Nyokabi to respond because she's a relationship coach. Nyokabi, go ahead.
Ellie, do you know I am very concerned and I'm extremely alarmed that our learned friend, our very learned friend, has decided to tell us or to remove, to throw the works in the spanner by saying that the court cannot compel you to co-parent. Then it needs to stop being called co-parenting and be called what? Co-sharing. Is it co-sharing?
No, but I think
let me clarify something.
Yes.
Let me clarify on something. You see, when it comes to children matters, there are three things that come in place. That is the parental responsibility, child custody, and maintenance. Co-parenting falls in the realm of custody. So co-parenting is basically, I would say it takes different, it can be interpreted differently. In terms of custody, we share the habitation of the child. Like I was explaining, maybe during the holiday, the child comes to me. During the other half of the holiday, they go to you, or during school time, they stay with their mother. That is a form of co-parenting. The other co-parenting is also sharing responsibility in terms of maintenance, right? So we are co-parenting, yes, but we're not seeing, I don't have custody. We don't have joint custody of the child. So the mother has the sole custody of the child, or the father has the sole custody of the child, and the responsibility that I have is just to provide. So that is also co-parenting, in that we are, we are in a collaboration kind of arrangement in raising our child. Yeah. So I think that is the clarification I wanted to make. So what I was saying that the court cannot compel you to do is custody, right? The court
to have
cannot
custody
compel,
of the child.
yeah, the court cannot compel you to have joint custody of the child. No, it can't. But
Nyokambi,
maintenance is a form of co-parenting, and the court will compel you to provide for your child.
great.
Ellie,
Let me hold the learned friend. And it's wrong for us to refer to him as such, because none of us has practiced law. But in this sitting, sir, so that we look like we know English in the legal jargons, allow us to
yes,
use that word only in this sitting, not out of these confines. Please ask your friends to call you that. But you are our friend, that's why we are referring to you as such.
they
So,
excuse us today.
yes. Nyokabi,
Yes.
as a relationship coach, you've watched that clip, and
Yes.
you've had interesting facts that Ken is mentioning here.
Yes.
What do you make of it? Because I think we are confusing between co-parenting and your duties as a parent, especially when it comes to providence. Wewe unaiona namna gani as a relationship coach? What will be your points of interest when it comes to co-parenting?
My point of interest, Ellie, in this particular case, I would look at the fact that they are not in talking terms, and I would like to know why they are not in talking terms. Because at some point when they were having these children, they were in talking terms. So the talking terms could be related to the raising of the child, it well-being of the child, and less about the personal relationship and the personal differences. And that's why I keep insisting, separate the child from your toxic relationship and focus on the well-being of the child. So that would be my interest number one. Interest number two would be the alleged case is saying that there is no TV in the house because their father has not bought, because what she earns, it goes into paying the house girl and paying school fees. Well, for me, in my looking, TV is a laxity. You see, it's not preventing the growth of the child. What concerns me is the fact that the child was not in school for a particular term because school fees wasn't paid. Now, that is something that I would particularly be concerned about, because if the child is not getting education, then this child is missing one of their fundamental rights, which is education, shelter, medical, and clothing and food, basic rights that a child needs in order to grow up in fulfillment. So when I hear a parent focusing on such minute things on a relationship case, I can see the issue why there's a strain. Because if you're considering a TV as such a big deal, more than you would consider the school fees of a child, then for me, I feel I can see where the problem is, where the communication breakdown is. But in this kind of a scenario, if you have a partner who you have tried to communicate to and you have tried to reach out and let them know, hey, your child needs school fees, your child needs medical attention, your child needs clothing, your child needs food, so what kind of an arrangement? For me, I'm curious to find out what kind of an arrangement. And what I was hoping that Ken would tell us or give us today would be that the court compiles particular responsibility for particular family members, for the particular party. They say the woman will provide, for example, in a perfect scenario, the woman will provide a roof over the head of this child. And because they're providing the roof would go very well with food and clothing. And then maybe the court would compel the husband to pay school fees, to pay medical cover. That kind of a sharing of responsibility is what I was hoping for. When it comes to the issue of the parent being present and being absent in the life of this child, there's a statement that has really touched me, and this is what we are seeing today. One of the parents chooses not to be in the life of their child until their child ameshinda lotto, and all of a suddenly, this is my son. And we have seen that in Tanzania. Well, the father comes from nowhere and starts saying, this is my son. Sasa umetoka wapi? Where were you for all my life? I'm 35, I'm 36. Where have you been all my life? You're coming all of a suddenly because you have seen things have worked out for me. I think when it comes to custody issues, if this person having a legal document, a binding document that clearly defines the responsibility. But what I'm concerned about is our learned friend has said that the court cannot compel you to have custody over the child. then it gives me the advantage as the person who is bringing up this child, and says, if you don't want to be present in the life of this child, then sign over the custody of this child to me. Allow me to have legal ownership of this child, because in this country, Ellie, did you know, and I want our advocate Ken to confirm this for us, that I cannot transport my children out of this country without the consent of my husband, so long as nimewaandika kwa birth certificate kama Kamau ndio baba yao. I cannot take them out of this country. And some of those fathers are absent, some of those fathers are deadbeat fathers. So I'm wondering, if the case cannot, if the court cannot compel you to have co-custody or to co-parent with this person, then does the fact that this person does not want to co-parent play a key role, or can it be used as evidence in my case presenting to say that I want full custody of these children? And I just don't want it by verbal saying. I want a legal document saying that these children are mine. And even when I die, they're still mine. And if you want to come and participate in the life of these children, then you need my consent. Because single mothers wanasafa huku nje.
Nyokabi, we will discuss this and many more after the break. And yes, we are back. My name is Likuyani Eli. Tonight we are with my co-host for the parenting edition or the family edition. That is Nyokabi GK Kamau. Soon after this, we'll be joining our advocate of the night, Ken Ashimosi. Nyokabi, before we left,
Yes.
you raised a lot of pertinent issues that I want us to address even as we go to the comment section. You want us to go to the comment section? I'll do the flashing, you'll do the reading if you want that to happen. Or you choose who you want to read.
Unajua leo kizungu iko wacha mimi nifanye the flashing. Leo kizungu imeisha.
Anza na chini kabisa.
Nimeanza na chini kabisa, my brother. Ndio hiyo, Rhoda.
Great. Rhoda says, how do you include a deadbeat dad in your child's birth certificate? Interesting. I want him to come and respond to that next.
But when you're in the hospital, wakwangi deadbeat.
Kweli kabisa mamake, and I think that is in response to Zena's earlier statement. If I can read that in your Nyokabi, allow me to read the statement from Zena. Zena
Yes.
and her English, which is Swahilish. I hope I can manage this to translate. Guess this. Announcing or rather publicizing the weaknesses of your partner or parent to your children.
Soma na Kiswahili ili. I will translate.
Yatangaza mapungufu ya mzazi mwenzio mtandaoni ni upuzi. Keti chini. Tuliza akili, lea mwanao. Ukishindwa na shule na matibabu, it is okay. Nenda FIDA usaidiwe, school fees ilipwe, lakini kwenda kumtangaza mtandaoni ni upuzi.
Well, really, she has a point, but you know, for me, I feel, I understand our celeb. You know, it's emotional. It's emotional, Ellie. It's not easy. It's not easy. You want to let people know so that you can get help. It's a cry.
Okay. It's a cry. We will find about that. We'll find out
It's
about that, brother. Heart in heart, aki mimi ukinipa mimba na ukimbie. Huwezi niona internet. Niliongea kuhusu wala siwezi enda kotini. I'll take care of these kids or these children. But when school closed down, like it or not, I will bring them to your place and you will stay with them during the whole holiday. Zena, you're a tough one.
I like you. Oh, yeah. I don't know.
And unfortunately, we cannot give out the link maybe for next time because you have to prepare a lot of things. So next time you want to engage us, always reach out on time. Thank you. Next one, please. Child support is a fundamental right, not a favor. That is Sarah Njonjo. Thank you so much. Next, please. Ali, single mothers are suffering a lot, bringing up children by themselves, and yet men, they are out here not giving a damn about it. It's so sad. Thank you, Ali, for your comment.
It is extremely sad.
So basically, that's a deadbeat dad. And how do you co-parent with such? Let's get back to that, Nyokabi. We will be reviewing the rest later on. These topics that you're discussing tonight is very, very educating. Thank you. Let's see if our advocate can be able to respond to some of the questions that you raised before we went on break, and equally on the statements there. Nyokabi.
Oh, welcome back, Ken. It's good to see you. I know you're having some technical challenges, lakini sisi ni wale wase tumezoea. Sasa, Ken, me, I had asked this question because the court cannot compel you to co-parent. The word is it has gotten lost. The one that has sole ownership of the child, or the what is the word? Yes, joint custody. You see, today I'm learning new words. Yeah, today is the day. So if the court cannot compel you to have custody, and when we talk about custody, we are talking about being present in the life of this child and sharing of the time of this child and bringing up of this child, then can this be used as evidence to support the parent who actually wants to be present in the life of this child to have full custody of this child or children?
Okay, matters of custody, first of all, there are different scenarios that lead to custody. So number one, when the court is, when you present your matter to court and the issue you have is custody, because remember, sometimes you're in a strained relationship. You as the father want to see your child, but the mother is against it because you have their differences. So the father approaches the court and requests the court to compel the mother to give the father access to the child.
Yes.
So that custody, then the custody will be shared in such circumstances. However, there are instances where a parent is given full custody because the other parent cannot do, maybe because of I can give examples. If you have a girl, if two parents have a child who is a girl and she's under the age of 10 years, so you cannot have full custody as a man or a husband unless you have very compelling evidence again, for the court to give you custody. However, the fact that the man decides that I don't want to co-parent in terms of I don't want custody, but I am participating in the child's welfare by providing, and that is it. You cannot use that to say, you cannot use that in a court of law to say the court should grant you full custody, because if you have the child, you see, mothers have the advantage that when the children are below the age of 18, then the law automatically grants you custody, unless you are, you are of a bad character, you are insane, then the court will decide on issues of custody. But you have automatic custody as a mother to your child.
Ken, I want you to hold it right there, that you have automatic custody as the mother of a child. And I want to bring up a scenario that had happened sometime last year or maybe early this year. I don't remember which particular time, where we on social media, we saw a mother who left the child when the child was about 2 years or 1 year. I don't know whether you remember that case. It was all over social media. And all of a sudden, when this child was almost 10 years, actually 8 years, the mother comes from nowhere and takes the father of this child to court, and the court awards the mother the custody of this child. You see, for me, that is very alarming, on the efficiency of co-parenting within the court parameters or within the court docket. Because if I can walk out of the life of my child for a long period of time, regardless of the gender, it really doesn't matter. It's about the best interest of the child. Does the court look at the best interest of the child? Because in this particular case that I'm giving you, where the woman came back after 8 years, after 5 years, amedisappear huko ajulikani alikuwa wapi, they have come back, they have gone to court, they have sued the man, and the court has awarded her the custody of this child. And the child was actually screaming and crying as she was being dragged out of the courtroom to go with the mother, because she had never seen this woman in her life. She had never known this person. So my question is this: in the court, the law of Kenya, does it take into account the interests of the child when it comes to custody? Does it take into account the well-being, the emotional being of this child, of a father who doesn't want to be present in your life but just provide financial support? You know, there is more to parenting than just materialistic support or monetary support. There is more to parenting.
Yeah.
Does it take into that account of the fact that if this child ever got an opportunity to travel out of this country when they were underage, by virtue of their fact that their parents are in their birth certificate, they cannot travel. They have to go to this father who doesn't want anything to do with them to beg them to write them an official letter to Kenyayo House to allow them to travel. You see what I'm talking about? Does
Yeah,
it take into account the best interest of this child in this country particularly?
Yes, yes. And the child, yes, Nyokabi, I have to confirm to you that the law is very clear when it comes to matters of the child. And under the Children's Act, the law is very clear that the interests of the child are paramount. They come number one. They are number one and they are non-negotiable. I know the case in point that you have raised. I am not sure if there were any other consideration that the court might have considered in that particular case, and I don't want to go into the details of it because it was already determined and you know, it was before a court of law. However, in the eyes of the common mwananchi, if I can use that phrase, is we saw some gaps in it, in that, like you've correctly explained, the child did not want to go with the mother. It was so obvious. So when it comes to issues of custody, because that was a matter, the matter before court was purely on issues of custody. When it comes to custody, the interests of the child are paramount, like I've said. So the court has to, you know, examine and even interrogate the child and ask them, do you know, is this your mother? And do you want to 1, 2, 3, 4?
Actually, I like that you say that the court will actually interrogate the child. And now I want to bring in a question and ask, I don't know whether we have lost Ken, but what I wanted to ask was Eli, and you remind me this question when we are able to get him back, internet is giving him a challenge, is that when it comes to now asking of the child, does taking this particular person to court require that you do a DNA test to prove that this is actually your child, or you just go there and you claim who ndio baba yake? Now all of a suddenly analipa child support. You know, we want to figure out these things early from a legal perspective. But taki ujinga hapa, tuko kazi bwana.
Leo, we need to have everything laid out there, and
Yes.
you know, I'm just trying to get the engagements going, and you don't think I'm doing that thing of red lights here and green lights there. No, I'm just trying to figure out how things are going out. In the comment section, we have a lot of contribution from Kipro, who says it's really sad. The best part is when they try to contact you after years asking you about the child. Wow, the audacity. And this is something that I want you to equally address, Nyokabi. You know, there have been raised questions here. What do you do with the missing deadbeat? You know, in this case, they have decided they are not part of this conversation, and they're not going to have this conversation with you.
Yes,
and then they reappear and appear. Some of them actually take care of or raise their children via internet. There's a case in point. One lady friend told me, Ellie, there's this baby daddy that asked me for my for the kid's photo after the baby was born. And I said, okay, that's a good thing. Yes, it's a good thing, but when they got pregnant, he was never concerned about the pregnancy. When she gave birth, he didn't, he didn't bother to ask, how did it go at the hospital? Are you fine? Are you well? Did you deliver well? Then they say, okay, fine. You want me to send you photo as who? And that's where the question is. Who am I sending you this photo as? Because from the last 9 months, you've been nowhere. And they said, how do I even send you money yet I have no proof of whose baby you are carrying? What do you make of such, Nyokabi? Wewe kama mwanamke, talk as a lady, not
Now,
as a counselor. Utafanya nini?
I want to talk like a relationship coach, and now you want me to talk like a lady.
No,
Nikiwa
on
kama
this case,
mwanamke,
talk as a lady.
Mimi as a lady, you will not take me through that bullshit. First of all, I have no business being with a person who, I normally say this as a relationship coach and as a person. When I talk to women, I tell them, you have no business with sleeping with a person that you're not using contraceptives, you're not protecting yourself with somebody who you don't know where the relationship is. In the year we are at, Eli, and it's not in a bad way, in 2021, we are not places where we get pregnant by accident. There are so many ways of preventing pregnancy. At this particular point, really, you can't say at nilijipata, ulijipata aje. That is the question I normally ask. But Eli, that is to throw the spanner in the works. Ngoja I want comments. Sasa, the next question I want to ask, there are two sides of the story. There are two sides of the story, Eli. And I want to give you an example of myself. I've been brought up by a single parent. And I got to know one of my parents when I was just about to get married. And by the time I was getting married, I was in my late 20s, Eli. That's when I got to know one of my parents. But the beauty is, when I walked through the gate to go and see this parent, because this passage of right requires that, it's a rite of passage. It requires a lot of involving of both parents. When I went to see this parent, Eli, this parent broke down and cried and said, my goodness, I said this such years ago, that one day my daughter will come through the door and find me. And I was astonished and I was shocked. I told my husband at that time, my fiance, I said, what is he talking about? He didn't know that I existed. He said, I have known you existed. I have known you went to school. I have known where you went to school. I have paid for your school fees. Things that I did not know growing up, because there are two sides to the story. Now, what is my point of telling you this personal experience? When I began to sit down with this parent, I discovered that the other parent had a problem, right? They couldn't communicate, they couldn't converse, they couldn't come to an agreement. And true to it, now I'm a grown-up, I can be able to distinguish between a toxic person and a person who is not toxic. So I can confirm that it is possible. It was difficult to deal with this person. But what shocked me was, Eli, he's in touch with all his children. So this person has other wives and has other children, but he has kept touch with all those children apart from me. So unakuja una realize there are two sides to the story. So what is different about these other wives, that their children are present in the life of this man, that was different in my case? So when we talk about deadbeat fathers, and that's why I said in that clip that we listened to, if somebody is concerned about the presence of a TV in the house, that is something that is important, that you're using to embarrass your partner, what other things that are minor that would you be complaining about? When you're talking about the other side of the coin, which part did you play? Some of these things is because we don't want to call a spade and we don't want to call a spoon a spoon. And please, single mothers, forgive me. I am not trying to be rude or disrespectful or to be ignorant of the situation that you're going through. I too can find myself as a single mother. But what I am saying is this. Are you at a level, it takes two to tango. For a relationship to work, it takes two to tango. So I want us to look at this thing from two angles. I want us to look at two toxic people. For example, the case study that we had on Wednesday, Eli. These are two parents. One is not vocally abusive and is not vocally aggressive, but at the same time, they are passively aggressive. They are sitting down and taking a very embarrassing video to themselves and to the family. The other one is fighting the way they know how to fight. So if you're a single parent and you're in a situation of single parenting, what is the relationship between you and this other person? I want to give you another personal experience, Eli. I know a couple where the woman just sits at home doing nothing. She doesn't want to clean. She doesn't want to cook. The only thing she does is to prepare the children for school and help them with their homework. The beauty is that the man actually does everything, from shopping the potatoes to onions to shopping bread and unga in the supermarket. He does basically everything. And when you ask this woman, why do you do this to this man? Why don't you participate and take up one task to help things to move along? She says, I have to punish him. I have to punish him because he left me. I have to punish him. He has to bring up his children. So when we look at these two people, Ellie, and my advice is separate the children from your own toxic relationship. Come to a sober understanding of, yes, we had a romantic relationship. Yes, the romantic relationship has died a natural death, or we have murdered it. Whichever the case it is, we have these children here with us. What is the best way to deal with this child? What is the ideal way to deal with this child? Are we people who, if I call you on the phone, mtoto wako atakunywa maziwa, or are you the kind of person who lets me know, next week, Ellie, I will need you to send money for milk. School fees is this, the school fee structure is out. Immediately shule zimefungwa. And now there's WhatsApp. You have taken a picture and you have sent to this gentleman and you have let them know school fees ndio hii imefika hapa. Mtoto wako ana swimingi, mtoto wako ako na piano class, mtoto wako ako na dada. Which of these things can you be able to take? By the time the month comes to an end, ukijipanga, you can participate. When the man comes to the doorstep to pick the child, how do you respond? Maybe the person you're co-parenting with is in another romantic relationship. They are married to someone else. How do you relate to their partner? Ellie, there's so much more to single parenting that we so want to make somebody the villain. We want to make men the villain. We want to make the women the villain, but we don't want to get to the bottom line of issues. And if we can get down to the tiny little nitty-gritties and find out, why is co-parenting so hard, Ellie? Can you imagine if Kamau is trying to co-parent with his ex and I'm here all the time complaining because the ex is calling, the ex keeps showing up, the ex keeps sending messages, the ex keeps on, overstepping bounds. These are some of the issues, Ellie, that make co-parenting so difficult and so tedious because the person you're working with is unreasonable.
Yeah.
Being that we have had a child together does not mean that I have a right over you. And in most cases, people feel because we have a child together, hakuna mali penye unaenda, utajua ujui, you go after this person. And that is why Zwena was sharing in the comment and saying, going to the public was the wrong move. If I cannot be able to reach you, Ellie, I know your brother. Because if we have 2 children or 3 children in a relationship, 2 children that are 7 years, 8 years, of course I know your brother. I can reach out to your brother and say, hey, can you call your brother akuje to discuss watoto wake? Let's put aside our differences. Is it possible for people who are in situations of co-parenting, Ellie, to put their differences aside and focus on the best interest of the child? Focus on the emotional bit. I was brought up knowing that one of my parents is terrible. I remember even one time I was told that this parent is capable of molesting me sexually. When I'm old enough, I came to discover akona daughters wengine watano na hajawai molest. So why would I be the one who is a victim of such kind of acts? So you see, even as these parents do this, they need to, and I want to highlight one of the comments here, Ellie, and that's why I said they allow me, I talk for the parents and they're saying till when we are going to run after them, they should be the ones asking about their children. You see, the relationship that you're in with somebody matters. And allow me to touch, let me touch this, Ellie, allow me to touch this, allow me to go deep.
Kindly go ahead. I wanted to ask a question, but respond to that one.
As a relationship coach, I want to touch onto this thing. There's this assumption that people make when they start dating. And that is why on Wednesday, one of these Wednesdays, we'll do the stages of relationships and what it means to date. There's these assumptions that especially women make when they start to date, that if somebody is sleeping with you, they are ready to build a life with you. We are going to call a spade a spade. That if somebody calls you over the weekend, they are willing to build a life with you, which is not the case. I believe by the time you can give yourself to somebody, because after you have given your nakedness to somebody, there's nothing left to give them. You should at least have a conversation beforehand. Are we boyfriend and girlfriend? We have decided to engage in these conjugal rights without any protection. What happens if we get pregnant? What does it mean for you if you get pregnant? Because if women can hold their head up high and have these conversations with men, they would not end up in some of these situations. And these are relationships that I'm saying you got pregnant, you have a baby, like the example that you gave Ellie. This person does not care when your maternity is going through. This person does not care when the child is born, lakini anataka picha. This is a different case than the case where you are married to somebody and they decide to walk out and have an affair and go start a new life, and you need to co-parent with that person. That's a whole different case. But the case we are looking at is these children you get outside of wedlock. This child that you accidentally get pregnant. If you can have these conversations, it will curb and it will reduce some of these issues early. If we can agree what happens if I get pregnant, then if you're not ready to be a father and I'm not ready to be a mother, then how do we go about preventing and taking care of ourselves instead of bringing a child into an innocent child into this drama? Ellie, Leo, you know, I'm an advocate. I don't even know. Leo ni za chapwa, uliza swali. Guy, hata sitaki kusoma questions.
I will do that, the reading for you, Nyokabi, but allow me to engage you a little bit more as we try to close down the discussion. Nyokabi,
Yes. Mm.
you know, I keep asking you questions, not because I just love making trouble, but I want
Yes.
us to know that we are talking of real situation issues. Case in point, it's about those ones that are mentioning that their partners or their exes are missing. And you brought in a very interesting point that what is your relationship with this person? If today, Nyokabi, as a lady, okay, let me now put you as a man because it will make more sense. You are the man in the relationship. You have a child with 1, 2, or 3 other women in your life because such is life. How then do you balance and make sure that all your children get your parenting effect without necessarily feeling that others have been left out?
One way is to have family activities. I have a couple that I have worked with that he walked out of his first marriage and is on his second marriage. And in the first marriage, he had children and he was concerned about children. One of the things that we did with him was to plan family activities together with all the children. And now because he has another wife and this wife has to be present, because you see, hawa si watoto wake na wamekuja, how are they going to relate? So the first thing that we did is to, first of all, plan family activities. Number 2 is to have a clearly defined guide on how that relationship is going to go, setting very healthy boundaries and very clear boundaries for both women, because the baby mama needs to understand what is her role, where she is. It doesn't matter the fact that she was the first wife or not. She's no longer the wife. And this other wife needs to understand that this man had a life before she came into this life, and she needs to respect that. So the first thing that you do with a blended family, because now that turns into a blended family, is that you set very grounded rules, and then you plan family activities together with all the children. You bring them so that they can even get an opportunity to interact because they are brothers and sisters. And then once you set that whole get together, then you can separate and say, on Saturday, I will hang out with these children for this woman, and on this Saturday, I will hang out with these children for these women. And the other thing you can do is to agree upon which schools are ideal for these children. Should they go to the same schools? Should they go to different schools but at the same standard? Because it is unfair for one to go to a public school and another one to go to a private school just because their mother is the one who is married to this man. What kind of medical cover do they get? But then again, it comes down to the mother, to the person, to this single parent. It comes back down to them, how they want to relate in this particular situation. Are they able to respect the boundaries that have been set? Are they able to work with this man and work with the present wife and maintain respect? And Ellie, can I tell you something? It is possible. I have seen it. I have witnessed it, not just with one couple, but with very many couples. I have seen men who had refused to participate in the life of these children with the right guidance, because anakwambia mimi sitaki kudeal na huyo mwanamke. I don't want to deal with that woman. Then you tell them, let's agree. Which school should this child go to? Atenda Makini school. Okay, school fees inatokanga this particular day. When you get the email from the school, are you willing to pay the school fees? Yes, so long as I don't deal with this woman. And you find that man actually starts participating in the life of these children. They start paying the school fees. They start doing what needs to be done, because the relationship itself is too toxic. I talk like this from experience, Ellie, and that's why I'm able to look at both sides I'm able to juggle both sides of the coin. If you can able to come to that kind of an agreement early with the assistance of a professional or an advocate, or I don't know, a relationship coach or a counselor, then you can be able to work together on the journey. If both parties or the third parties or whatever number of parties that are involved can respect the guidelines that they have been given. If Eli nikikupatia watoto, umesema you're taking them for swimming, nimewapakia vitu za swimming, na umeenda nao swimming, Eli, you have taken the children for swimming, and we agreed you'll return these children at 4, and then you bring them at 7:30. Sio ni vita unatafuta, and you do it twice, thrice, 4 times. So these are the things that can help you actually start cooperating the right way. That would be my
Probably I was just missing my children and I wanted to spend more time, and I wanted you to have time for your me time by yourself. You never know. But Nyokabi,
Yes.
let's just quickly go through the comment section so that we get people involved in this discussion. I can see some messages, people asking me for a little bit of latitude. Let's give them 8 more minutes so that everybody that has a question can be able to be responded to. Gaddafi, thank you so much for joining. And well, I'll just mention the comment. He says, for instance, a relationship that a stepmother contributed for the, hey, Leo, zile mandizi tumekula hii at in heart.
Ni learned friend, the effect of being around learned people.
I'll take that again, Gaddafi, excuse me. For instance, a relationship that stepmother contributed for her daughter to step out. Can you be blamed when you don't support? Not sure if I'm out of topic, but no, I believe the word there should have been mother-in-law or something. I think so, that you made your daughter to step out. Then you expect me to contribute. And the thing is, from what we have learned tonight is, your responsibility is not to your partner per se, or your ex-partner. Your biggest responsibility is for the children that you had during your good times. That is your biggest number one responsibility. There is one more here that says, ladies, before you start relationship, be careful when you unazana na maisha kama ako faithful. And I don't know, we are not necessarily talking about cheating by any chance. We're talking about all sort of scenario. It could be children you had even before you got married. So yes, again, it's also good to look out for that. Then on the other hand says there's nothing like accidentally got pregnant, and this is something that you contributed to. Thank you so much for that backup information. Thank you so much, Zena. Co-parenting requires a lot of maturity and discernment. Yes, so I think that is self-explanatory. I don't need to dig into that. Thank you so much, Sarah and Jojo Kiproroda. You saying you're together in this. Nyokabi, I sat here and I was smiling as you're presenting your points, because one of the major reasons you mentioned was money. Why is it when it comes to co-parenting, the major factor that is put out is money? Do you think it is time we considered about quality time, the emotional well-being of these children, the physical presence of these parents that are missing in these children? And importantly, the guidance that these parents can actually issue. Just because you were a bad husband or boyfriend doesn't always drop down to a bad father. I don't know how true that statement is, Nyokabi.
It is absolutely true, Ellie, because like I said, I have seen cases, I have worked with cases where the father wants to be present in the life of this child, but the partner is toxic. Now, to answer your question, Ellie, let me say this. It comes down to money because a child is responsibility. And that's why I always say when I talk to young girls, I tell them a child is an expenditure. Is a car that is always running and asking and asking and asking but doesn't give back. Is an expenditure from the time you get pregnant in the maternity care to the time you give birth to this child, the food and everything. It's an expenditure until they are 25, when they start earning their own money and start living their own lives. And even then, they are still an expenditure because they can still come to you and say, you know what, mom and dad, I need you to assist me here and there financially. So it narrows down to money because people want the financial support. Number one is because you genuinely need financial support from your partner, because raising a child early, you and I know, is not a joke. The cost implications are crazy, especially if you have a standard by which you want to raise this child. Number two, it comes down again to money when somebody thinks you should take responsibility because you participated. It's an issue of, I'm going to get you back somewhere for what you did to me. Number three, you have money and therefore you should give it to me. I'm entitled to it because I have your children. Number four, it is trying to tarnish and to destroy the relationship that this person is in by keeping on demanding and demanding and demanding and demanding and demanding. So it comes to money, back to money for many reasons. But I like the way that you have raised the issue of there's more to co-parenting than just financial or monetary value in the life of this child. And that is why I really challenge our learned friend and I ask them, if the court cannot force you to raise this child with this person, then what's the whole point of going to court in the first place? Because what you need more than financial support is the presence of this parent. Because I always say that you cannot give what you don't have. This is one of the statements that has put me in a lot of problems whenever I answer the question of co-parenting and whenever I talk about this in front of single parents. Because early, I cannot raise a man because I am not a man. There is nothing I know about being a man. Why? Because I am not a man. So there are things that I cannot teach my son that he has to be taught by his father. The same equivalent falls to the woman. You can, as a man, you cannot raise a daughter, and that's part of the reason why the court will not give you the daughter until she's of a certain age, because you cannot teach a woman how to be a woman. Why? Because you're not a woman. And some of the reasons why life used to work so well before we went digital and before we became so westernized is because the women worked with the women and the men worked with the men. So the gender roles were very well clearly defined. The reason why we are having so much trouble with sexual orientation today is because you're raising a boy child in the salon. Wewe umeenda salon, you have taken your son with you because you're doing your nails, you're doing your hair, you're doing everything, and you need to keep this child busy. You end up doing the same for this child. So this child starts admiring this life. And in the process, their sexual orientation becomes confused. But if he has a man in his life, a man who walks with him, who takes him to the barber, wanaenda wananyolewa nywele, anaona mwanaume ni kunyolewa ndevu, mwanaume ni kunyolewa nywele. He learns what it means to be a man. When I take my daughter to the salon, is a totally different experience because now she begins to understand what it means to be a lady, what it is to be a girl. You know, she's pampered, she feels good, she looks forward to doing it when she's older. And that is what I used to back up. When you're single parenting, isn't it more important, the values that you're instilling into this child, than trying to get back at your partner for what they did to you? So when it comes to co-parenting, for me, I advocate for your presence as a father of this, even identity. Let me just come down to that. Knowing who you are, who you belong to, comes from your parents. And that is why we go back to where we were born. We go back to where we came from. We go looking for that's why you see a son amefikisha miaka 50 na ameenda kutafuta baba yake. Because you need your roots, you need your identity, you need to know where you came from. And money, Eli, cannot buy these things. Money cannot buy you identity. Money cannot buy you sexual orientation. Money cannot let you know who a man is and who a woman is, how men and women relate in relationships, because these things, you learn them from your parents. So if you're co-parenting, it is important to look beyond what that man did to you. It is important to look that ulipata mimba and he was not present. He was not present, but now he wants to be present. Is it about you or is it about the child? That's the question that I want to ask the single parents out there. Is it about you or is it about the child?
Well, we'll leave it at that tonight. Is it about you? Is it about the child? You know, as we have this discussion, it's always great to get your response and keep the conversation going in the comment section. Drop us an email. I mean, Nyokabi is very available. She's very loud on social media. She's very reachable on those contacts. That is Nyokabi GK Kamau +254 780810987. And you know, you can follow her on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Nyokabi GK Kamau. On Instagram, it is simply Nyokabi GK. I equally have my own social media handles, and if you may, you can equally follow me on those handles at the Arts in Hearts on Instagram. YouTube is Art in Heart. Okay, we made some changes the other day. They are still taking place. But if you still use the same handle, it will redirect you to our channel. And on Facebook, it's equally at the Art in Heart. And the name there is Art in Art. Finally, we have it. So keep the conversation going. Follow, subscribe, like the page. And you know how we do it. Share to your family and friends. So, Nyokabi, I'm equally on TikTok, but I don't do too much dancing, right? I will do a challenge with you so that we can dance one of these fine days. And we'll dance. I'll have to
You're setting yourself up for failure. Tufanye Lingala.
That is Likuyani Eli on Facebook, rather on TikTok. And yes, I can equally dance to Lingala. I have no space to be able to do this for you tonight. But I appreciate each and everybody that came on the show tonight. We have had a great conversation. My clarion call to the parents that are separated or raising children aside or apart, lack of a better word, it's more about the child than the rent. It's more about their mentality of what life is than how annoyed you are about your ex-partner. And most importantly, if you two, and the big word here is if the two of you can find a middle ground, then you'll raise children and they will not even feel the absence of their parents. Charity, Charlie, thank you so much for your comments. I saw them somewhere and they got logged out. But thank you so much for your comments. She says, it's your responsibility to look out for your child. Would you have your child visit the other parent, yet they have told you, Mom, I don't want to visit X. I'm comfortable around them because 1, 2, 3, and 4 issues. So yes, let's find out the middle ground. And if it doesn't work, well, we can't force you into it. My name is Likuyani Eli, and my co-host on the other hand is
Nyokabi GK Kamau.
We want to wish you yes, and we want to wish you a happy Labor Day or weekend. For those of you who had a great weekend, enjoy it. For those of you who didn't work, make sure you do work, because hakuna pesa ya bure mahali. Mimi sijasikia hiyo. Na kama unataka Mr. akupe rent, you're preparing for failure. You're preparing for failure. So, Nyokabi, we want to call it a night. For everybody that made it to the show, thank you so much. Tomorrow, catch me with one Kim Live on Ellie's Hangout, where we bring you against all odds every single Sunday from 9:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. and of course 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Central European Summertime. My name again is Likuyani Eli, and that is Nyokabi GK Kamau. We'll leave you with this that says Fanya Mambo by Alvina Gashugu. Lalisha, happy Labor Day to you guys.
Happy Labor Day to you guys.
Bad girl Alvina Street music.
Don't you come into my life thinking you can manage me. I am on this solo path ever since way back then birth. You were born alone, you will die alone. So make it known before you were gone that your star has shone, you've become renowned. What the hell you waiting for? Lalisha, Lalisha, Lalisha. Una Lalisha, Lalisha, Lalisha. Una Lalisha, Lalisha, Lalisha. Una Lalisha, Lalisha, Lalisha. Don't you waste another's time just partying and drinking, ordering in anything. I've been living them all in out. Father Abraham had many sons, she and her have only fans. He and him using their hands.
And I get joke.
I'm on a mission to take the nation, world domination, my destination. Procrastination, not my intention. But sometimes Nina Lalisha, Lalisha, Lalisha. Una 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 Lalisha, Lalisha, Lalisha. Don't you dare stand in the way of someone else's dreams. Sleeping Beauty doesn't need a flimsy kiss from a prince. I have so much more to give the world, so do you, so get off your bum. Life's a beat, but we gotta be much more than a potato. We gotta keep a good thing going. Humanity's ever evolving. It's our own problem solving. Who's gonna bring the next innovation? We gotta keep a good thing going. Humanity's ever evolving. It's our own problem solving. Who's gonna bring the next innovation? Lalisha, Lalisha, Lalisha. Una Lalisha, Lalisha, Lalisha. Una Lalisha, Lalisha, Lalisha.